Hello and welcome to the Heisman video from my channel this week. Told you I'd do something for you guys. Figured this is going to be a good way to do it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the top six from reverse order, so from sixth all the way down to one, and ending with who I think should win the Heisman. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. At number 6, I have Dante Foreman, the running back from Texas. He's had an excellent season. He's got 2,028 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns, and he's got a few receptions for under 100 yards, so he's not a dual threat running back, but he's definitely a running back I think you could see playing on Sunday very soon. The thing about Foreman, the reason he's 6th on my list, is Texas's record of 5-7. Texas doesn't have an impressive record, and while he's been very good this season, I just don't think he's got enough of a resume to win. There are too many ahead of him with a better resume. Next on my list is Baker Mayfield, quarterback for Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield's got 3,381 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, just over 130 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. He's only thrown 8 interceptions on the season. He has a very good stats. The problem with him, in my opinion, is 2 games. The game against Texas and the game against Ohio State. In the game against Ohio State, he played very poorly and actually, in the end, cost them the game with his interceptions. He had 1 pick six and 1 pick that set up Ohio State with a short field that resulted in a touchdown. So he helped them to lose the game in that point, and that's not what you want out of a Heisman candidate. Now, with him, in the Texas game, he also threw 2 picks in that game, but they kept Texas in the game, and a better offense probably would have made him pay for it. So, honestly, I just think those 2 games are going to hold Baker Mayfield back from a Heisman. Number 4 on my list is actually the Texas Tech quarterback, Patrick Mahomes II. He has 5,052 yards passing, 41 passing touchdowns, 285 yards rushing, but 12 rushing touchdowns. He's only thrown 10 interceptions on the season. He has accounted for more touchdowns in the regular season than anyone else, I believe. He has 53 total touchdowns on the season. Now, that being said, the reason he's only 4th on my list is similar to why Dante Foreman was only 6th. He may have the impressive stats, but he does not have the winning record. He's 5-7, and it's an interesting dichotomy here. I put him above Baker Mayfield because I feel like Texas Tech without Patrick Mahomes would still would be an 0-12 team, whereas Oklahoma without Baker Mayfield, they could find someone to fill his and probably pull out a winning record. Yes, Mayfield made them better, but they didn't live and die by him. As is evident by my 3rd spot on the Heisman list, is D.D. Westbrook, the wide receiver from Oklahoma. He has 70 receptions for 1,354 yards and 15 receiving touchdowns. He accounts for 31.5% of the completed passes Baker Mayfield had. He accounts for 40% of the yards Baker Mayfield had, and he has accounted for 42.9% of the touchdowns that Baker Mayfield had. So you take away this one wide receiver, and Mayfield's numbers are half as good as they were. So I think that's why I'm putting D.D. Westbrook way up there as a wide receiver. He's definitely the forerunner in all of the Big 12 players in this list. But there's a clear divide between 3 and 2. So number 2 is Deshaun Watson, the quarterback for Clemson. Watson has 3,626 yards passing, 34 passing touchdowns, but he also has 14 interceptions. He has 444 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns rushing. So he's got the stats on him to provide a good resume for the Heisman, and I think any other year he'd probably be my front runner. But I just feel like there's one game that holds him back, and it's kind of bad to say this, but the one game that holds him back is the game against Pitt, where he threw 3 interceptions, most of which led to scores by Pitt. And it led to them losing the game. So he did cost his team a game. So I think that holds him back, in my opinion. But it's not to say that he couldn't win. It's just I wouldn't give him the win right now. And before I get to number 1, which I'm sure you all know who I'm going to put there, I wanna do an honorable mention. Corey Davis, the wide receiver from Western Michigan. He's on nobody's list for the Heisman. He's not on mine just because of the situation, but I have one huge problem with what's happening here. He's not on the list of the Blitnikoff Award. He's not a finalist for that. He has set the NCAA record for career receiving yards and is 1 touchdown away from owning the 2nd spot on the career touchdowns mark, receiving touchdowns mark. So the Blitnikoff Award selection people have said that it is not a career award but a seasonal award, but that still doesn't hold up because the 3 finalists are D.D. Westbrook, I can't remember the other 2's names, but they're from Northwestern and from Eastern Carolina. Now, Corey Davis from Western Michigan has more touchdowns than all 3 of them, and more receiving yards than one of them. So, for him to not be listed as a finalist when there's someone with worse stats than him makes no sense. But that's my honorable mention. He's got 17 touchdowns on the season, which is a lot for a wide receiver. So for him to not be a finalist for the Blitnikoff at least is kind of a slap in the face. Anyway, on to number 1. Who else but Lamar Jackson, the quarterback for Louisville? Now, I know he's had 2 losses back-to-back, 1 bad game in those 2 losses, but here's the final line. Lamar Jackson has 3,390 yards passing, 30 passing touchdowns, only 9 interceptions, 3 of them coming in the previous loss to Kentucky. He has 1,538 rushing yards and 21 rushing touchdowns. He has more rushing touchdowns than anyone else on the list. He has more rushing yards than a lot of running backs this season. He's a 3,000-yard passer and a 1,500-yard rusher. He has the resume and it's just incredibly impressive. And while he did lose back-to-back games to end the season, and he played terribly in the Houston game, I think his performance in the Kentucky game was even enough to not hurt his standing. I know it seems hypocritical that I'm saying, oh, well, I held this person back for X game, but not Lamar Jackson. The difference being Lamar Jackson was so prolific this season and so intense to watch. I mean, he's one of the few, if not the only, quarterback in NCAA history to get 20 rushing and passing touchdowns. So he's accounted for 51 total touchdowns on the season, and he led his team to a 9-3 record and probably a pretty decent bowl game. So I think that, out of everything, is going to be what saves Lamar Jackson and gets him the Heisman win. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate you watching these videos, and if you like what I'm doing, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll be back in probably on Friday or so with my week 14 or the championship week predictions. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.